Hello and welcome to another edition of the Second String. I am your host, Nate Mielbach, and joining me is Alex tells everyone that he does parkour, Fernando.
You know, I'm pretty quick like that, and all those flips and stuff, I might as well just start getting it on the field. I could probably do better than some of our players, I think. I don't know. Based off this last game.
You could definitely help. Well, we're the Second String. You're first. I want to say only, but that's not true, source for college football here on KRNU2. We had a great slate of games today, contrary to what we said last week.
Contrary to what you said last week.
Okay.
Any given weekend, Nate, you never know what's going to happen in college football.
It was fun. It was definitely more fun than a couple of the last weekends, for sure.
Oh, my gosh. Upsets for days.
We're going to talk about some upsets. We're going to talk about that decidedly not upset that happened here in Lincoln this last Saturday. And we're going to preview a few games from next week. Talk about some NFL, talk about some awesome new hires that have been happening. I think it'll be a fun and rewarding show.
Rewarding?
I'm struggling to come up with something, Alex.
Entertaining. I think we got a lot to talk about. Again, you mentioned the upsets, those new hires, both with Nebraska and a few others around the nation, maybe looking for job openings soon.
Maybe.
And just, I don't know, a lot of good news in college football coming your way.
All right, so let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. There were four upsets of top 10 teams this Sunday.
On the brink of 8, too.
On the brink of 8. It was a really close. Now, I thought we would talk about the 4 that actually got upset. Now, it doesn't really matter to me what order we talk them in. I kind of want you to make the first pick. Which one of them do you want to talk about first?
I want to start by eating my own words and just get it out of the way. Wazoo going down to Cal 37-3. For those of you who couldn't join us last week, I was very high on the Cougars of Wazoo.
It was a sleeper playoff pick.
That was my sleeper playoff pick. I thought Luke Falk had the offense humming, and I thought the defense had been playing really well. And then they go into Berkeley and get trashed. 37-3 again, the final there. Wazoo did not look good from the start. Luke Falk, 5 interceptions in this game. He had 2 the entire season coming in.
That's not good.
He also had a fumble, too. So he had all 6 turnovers for the Cougars. He had 7. Or I think he might have had 2 fumbles. I don't know. He had 6 of the 7 for sure. But Wazoo just looked like a complete mess, especially on offense. They could not figure out the Cal defense. Cal was bringing a lot of pressure, which I thought was interesting because they haven't done that in recent weeks, or at least they haven't had a lot of success getting the quarterback in recent weeks. But they came away with 9 sacks as a team and 12 tackles for loss.
That's insane. That's like Clemson level numbers.
That's like my video game numbers almost.
Let's not talk about NCAA football, but even though that's exactly what we're talking about.
No, I mean, regardless Cal's defense was swarming that offensive line of Wazoo.
They just ran they schemed really well. And Justin Wilcox, he was the defensive coordinator for Wisconsin last year, got hired away pretty quickly. A lot of people thought it was going to be a bad hire for Cal. They said, this guy's unproven. He was a defensive coordinator for a team in between, 2 good defensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. All he basically had to do was kind of do what the last guy was doing.
Yep.
He had to keep doing what former Washington Wisconsin, Dave Aranda did, yep. And that's what the criticism was.
He's got a stack load of players up at Wisconsin that just know that system.
Yeah, so a lot of people were criticizing Justin Wilcox and Cal for being like, wow, you pulled the trigger way too early. But as was shown, the defensive pressure, the blitzes, the scheme, it just really befuddled a Washington State attack that's not really known for this kind of especially a veteran quarterback like Luke Falk.
Oh, my God, yeah. He was entirely rattled the whole game.
Yeah, you don't make mistakes like those unless the defense is really, really in your head, which the Bears were.
Oh, definitely. And, they've held with teams so far this season. They haven't looked great, and their 4-3 record doesn't look that impressive, but they lost by 10 to USC. They kept it close for a while with Oregon, and against Washington, they kind of got blown out, but they've looked solid against everybody else. And again, new management. They got a new head coach, they new defensive coordinator, kind of new system in there. They're starting to just kind of buy into this system. It looks like these players are really understanding what the coaches are asking of them, and when you have the number 8 team coming to town on a Friday night, why not take it to them? They, again, just blitzing like crazy. And then on offense, Cal ran for 106, and they're not much of a rushing team, but Ross Bowers at quarterback, 21 of 38, 259 yards and a touchdown. Very efficient, kept control of the ball, did not make mistakes. And that's how you got to beat a team like Washington State. Because, again, their defense is very impressive. Their defense still had 2 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, so they were coming after Cal quite a bit as well. But I don't know. I was very impressed with the way Cal just stood up to Washington State, and very disappointed with Washington State. Again, they were kind of my dark horse team coming in after the last few weeks. I thought Mark Leach kind of had them set straight, and 3 points when you're the number 8 team, that's not enough.
No, it isn't, and that it seems self-evident. But for a team like Washington State, which has put up and can put up so many points. Look at the scores they've put up. 31, 47, 52, 45, 30, 33. This is their first time they've been under 30 points, let alone 5.
Yeah, and that goes back to last season too. They were one of the highest scoring and highest efficiency offenses in all of college football last season. So to completely shut down, again, senior quarterback, very experienced with Luke Falk, to completely shut him down. He didn't even have a touchdown pass, just 5 straight interceptions. I mean, right from the get-go, they really had his number in this game, and that's what led to the upset. Cal played fantastic defense.
They were, in the words of Mike Leach, a bunch of pathetic front runners. And
oh my gosh,
Washington State just seem to have a loss like this every year. We talk about the loss to Boise State, the loss to Portland State.
Yeah, usually it's the FCS loss at the beginning of the season, but to have one this deep into conference play, they've been doing so well with the season though. Like, they got over that FCS loss hump. They had a tough one against Boise State, taking them to overtime. And also, part of it, I think, is this is the first road game they've had all season. They've had all home games up until this point.
They played in Oregon last week.
Yeah, sorry. So there's a second road game. Oregon was the first one. I apologize. But, again, haven't been on the road very much. So, I guess you'd think.
It could be just jitters. I think they'll rebound. Mike Leach knows how to get a team whipped back into shape. He's a motivational speaker if I've ever heard one.
Oh, very true. But, let's move on to the second upset to talk about Clemson and Syracuse, another Friday night game. Friday just kind of started this whole weekend off on the right foot, or wrong foot if you're a top 10 team.
Yeah, I didn't catch this game personally myself. I was out with friends, and you just texted me and said, Clemson. I said, Clemson's getting taken to the woodshed by Syracuse, and I was like, okay, I got to get home. I got to watch this. I gotta hurry up and finish what I'm doing.
Yeah, you missed a good game. I was watching majority of this one Friday night, and again, Syracuse was up early, but I mean, I'm like, okay, that kind of happens sometimes. Teams on the road, and the Dome is kind of a tough place to play. It gets loud in there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Clemson, they're an experienced team. They'll come back. And when I started watching the game, Syracuse was up by 14-7, and then Clemson returns a fumble for a touchdown, ties it up.
Crazy.
And so I'm like, and the play before, Syracuse would have had a touchdown had it not been for a penalty. So I'm like, okay, Syracuse is doing the Syracuse thing and just kind of letting it roll over. Clemson's going to take over this. But I think the biggest downfall for Clemson was trying to play Kelly Bryant through the injury.
I was going to ask you for that because I was watching bits and pieces of the game on YouTube this Monday, and it just didn't look like he was right from the start of the game.
Well, he had the ankle injury late last week.
Yeah.
So you knew coming in he was going to be kind of gimpy. They weren't going to run him very much. Obviously, they tried to limit his carries.
No.
But Syracuse, they kind of stuck to him. They contained him pretty well. Again, the injury helped, but it just looked like he wasn't comfortable throwing either, though.
His footwork was not very good.
No.
You could
just credit Syracuse's defense too. Their coverage was phenomenal throughout the game.
But you could just tell that Bryant, he didn't feel like he was confident in planting that foot.
Oh, not at all. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. And then Syracuse, again, got a lot of pressure. They ended the game, let's see, they had 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss, so they were coming after the quarterback quite as well. And that big play was when Kelly Bryant was knocked unconscious, taken off for a concussion.
Yeah, that's...
Again, he probably shouldn't have even been in there in the first place.
No, and it's a rough one to really evaluate, because you look at Kelly Bryant, you wonder, because he couldn't trust his ankle enough, did he lay himself out? Was that the reason he got the concussion? It's not inherently causation one for the other, but I still don't think he should have been playing.
Oh, definitely not.
And it's always rough, as Nebraska fans know this. Tommy Armstrong last year versus Iowa State.
Yeah.
And when teams go down when players go down with a concussion, it's just
it's hard to see. You don't want. I mean, you never want to see a guy go down like that.
It's gonna be the downfall of football, man.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year, but sometime. I'm gonna get off my soapbox there, but.
Yeah, let's not worry too much about concussions. Let's worry about Eric Dungy, quarterback of Syracuse, 278 and 3 touchdowns, no picks.
61 yards on the ground too.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, scrambling ability, running ability, but just absolutely demolished what we thought was a near impenetrable Clemson defense.
Yeah, a defense that I thought was better than the one they had last year. I don't know. They just kind of stopped the sacks. I mean, there were still sacks. Clarence Farrell had 4, basically.
Clemson had 6 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, but I think just the consistency of Syracuse throughout the game, holding on to the ball, holding on to the clock. I mean, Syracuse had 35 minutes of time of possession compared to Clemson's 25, so holding on to the ball. Their ground game, long, sustainable drives. And Syracuse, again, they just kind of had the game plan, the mindset right to go in. They really shut down Clemson. Again, hobbled by the injury with Clemson's offense. They didn't try to run the ball, though. They just tried to kind of leave Kelly Bryant and then his backup in there to keep throwing the ball, Zarek Cooper. Neither one of them looked very impressive. They completed a decent amount, but no yards were given. So, again, that secondary for Syracuse, sticking it to those receivers for Clemson, who are arguably one of the most talented in the nation.
Yeah, it's tough to see this game in any lens that's not through the Kelly Bryant injury.
Yeah, very true.
And it's rough, but Syracuse, they just took care of the ball. No turnovers.
Well, they had the one fumble for a run back.
Oh, that's right. Besides the run fumble, ran back for the touchdown. They had no turnovers.
Yeah.
Dungy did not throw any interceptions.
Yeah, that was the big key.
And that's generally how you lose these sort of upset games. Is you just throw turnovers and the most insincere spots, and it just kind of ruins your momentum. And for Syracuse, they almost had it when they had that fumble return, but they managed to just keep themselves composed, keep themselves together. They said, we got this. We can beat Clemson, easy.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, again, it's hard to see without the Kelly Bryant injury how this would go. But that just makes me think, looking forward, if Clemson's offense does this against Syracuse without Kelly Bryant, they have some tougher teams on the horizon to play. And if Kelly Bryant can't go, they're in big trouble. They get Georgia Tech.
NC State in 2 weeks.
Yeah, North Carolina State. They get Georgia Tech, and whoever they play in possibly the ACC championship if they make it that far. So I don't know. It's gonna be. They still have Florida State to play as well. That's a very tough defense. I don't know. It's when you lose your leader at quarterback. I mean, again, Nebraska fans saw this last year with losing Tommy Armstrong at the end of the year. That your offensive production crashes. It's straight down.
It's going to be rough for them, and I'm not going to deny it. It'll be very, very interesting to see how they react to this loss going forward.
Luckily, they have a bye week to recover, but again, tough teams on the horizon their next few weeks.
Yes, indeed. Let's move on to the next upset. How about this one this one was my favorite game of the week, honestly. How about the Arizona State Sun Devils upsetting number 5 Washington Huskies 13-7.
Oh my goodness. For a Washington team that has been completely unfazed this season and has just looked phenomenal and even a step ahead of what they were last year, this was a complete shocker. I don't know how Arizona State did it, but
just
that was
great,
impressive.
just great defense, and it's strange because Arizona State to come into the year, Todd Graham. People were placing bets that he would want to be one of the first coaches fired.
He was definitely on the hot seat.
He was on the hot seat. Their defense is much maligned. They gave up 52 to Texas Tech, 35 to Oregon, 34 to Stanford, 31 to New Mexico State.
You want to know what their total defense is ranked?
What?
106 in the nation.
That's not good for Washington. I don't know where they went wrong. It's not like Jake Browning had a bad game, 17 for 30 for 139 yards, but he didn't turn it over.
No, but they were just sticking to his receivers. He clearly didn't have enough room to throw. Browning averages like 250 a game.
Yeah.
And being held to 140. Myles Gaskin couldn't get going. Your sneaky dark horse guy up in the Pacific Northwest, he only had 67 yards.
He was my favorite player that nobody's talking about. It felt like they couldn't spring him. He didn't have that big breakaway run that he usually finds the way to get. And I credit the Arizona State defensive line especially because they were pushing the Washington State offensive line all over the place.
Oh, for sure. Arizona State finished with 5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. So really kind of coming after that Washington offensive line, who, again, is one of the better ones in the nation. They don't give up many sacks. Jake Browning's usually very well protected, usually a very solid run game from Washington. So you just got to wonder what happened. Fun fact for you, Washington still now, because of this weekend, has not beat Arizona State in Tempe, Arizona since 2001.
That's crazy. What? I actually did not know that. That's nuts. I'm sure they don't play very often.
No, the cross-divisional games will go on and off on certain years, but still, you thought, like many of the other upsets, this was a double-digit favorite, easy, top 5 team on the road, a tough environment, and team they haven't beaten in a while on the road, I guess, sure, but Arizona State, like you said, they haven't been a very strong team. They're only 3-3 this year, and very atrocious defense. They lost to San Diego State, Texas Tech, and Stanford. They kept it kind of close with Stanford, and they scored on Texas Tech. But, still, those are teams that if you're going to be one of the top teams in the Pac-12, you got to be beating San Diego State and Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's not very common for Arizona State to just post this defensive shutout. And, like I said, I really do credit the defensive line. I think
for sure.
It was
traditionally not a defensive powerhouse program either.
Yeah, players like Rennell Wren, Tashawn Smallwood, JoJo Wicker, I thought was very impressive.
Christian Sam, 11 total tackles, 8 solo, half a sack, half a tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. He was kind of all over the field for them.
Yeah, they just pushed back their offensive line, was able to get the run under control. Bryce Love popped, 300 on them a few weeks ago. And
Bryce Love pops 300 on everybody.
Bryce Love's
doesn't matter who he's playing.
Bryce Love's in another dimension, so maybe that's not a fair comparison. But they really tightened the screws down. And Todd Graham, he said it's good night to be a Sun Devil, and it really was.
Very impressive win. Play of the game though, that 4th down completion. Late in the game.
That was some goofy stuff.
I have no idea how that happened, but
he wasn't intended. That wasn't their intended receiver.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't get to see that, go look it up. One of the last plays of the game, just to kind of seal it for Arizona State. But their quarterback's rolling out. He's getting pressured. He tries to throw it on the run, and it ends up going over the head of his intended receiver to the right towards the sideline, where another receiver comes out of nowhere and catches it and runs down to the goal line and finishes the game.
It's absurd. I don't know how it happened. It was strange.
It's not good to be from the state of Washington this week.
No, people were hyping up the Apple Cup, but maybe not.
That took a big dash. Of the 2 teams, I think Washington still has the best chance to get into the college football playoff. Though.
Yes,
they win out,
sure.
They win the Pac-12 championship, that kind of thing.
I think both teams are fair if they win out. But Washington, I think, certainly has a more impressive resume.
Yeah, I'd give Washington probably that inside track.
Yep. All right, let's go to the last upset of the day. The number 10 Auburn Tigers, 23. The LSU Tigers, 27.
Oh, the Tiger Bowl. I expected this to be low scoring. This was a lot higher than I thought. I had like 19-13, honestly.
Really?
These 2 tough defenses. Not especially with LSU, not a lot of great offensive play lately.
I expected LSU to not score that many points, but Auburn,
Auburn jumped out early too, 17-0 in the first quarter.
I was like, this is over. I'm done watching.
Yeah,
this.
I watched early on of like, oh, Auburn's just trashing them right now. LSU can't even find their feet, and so I don't know. They battled back. Great defensive performance, kept it close, and then 13-point scoreless, 13-0 scoreless fourth quarter for Auburn, and giving up 13 to LSU. Finishing the game. That's all I can say. It's just finishing it out.
Auburn was up 20-0 on LSU, and then their mascot put on a Troy Trojans outfit. And then LSU came back and scored 27 points.
I missed that, but that is hilarious.
I saw it and I was like, that is absurd. You don't tempt the gods of fate like that.
No, you never do that, especially in Death Valley.
Yeah, you don't tempt the football gods with that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, I didn't see that.
And it truly was a team effort for LSU because, as you said, their offense just isn't rolling. Darius Geis just has not been the impressive runner.
No, everybody thought he'd be like he's a step above Leonard Fournette almost.
People were thinking this guy, he's the next Leonard Fournette. Easy, but
maybe not as powerful, but much speedier and much quicker to the hole. So,
and you can see that 20 rushes for 71 yards. That's 3.5 average yards per carry. You could be Russell Gage and also have 71 yards on 2 carries. No, yep. he had the long 70-yard run.
Yep.
During the fourth quarter, but
I think the biggest part of this game is the adjustments made at halftime by LSU's defense. Again, you mentioned it, 20-0 in the first, it ended up being 23-14 at halftime, but 20-0 early on. They gave up a lot of big plays. Kerryon Johnson for Auburn had 156 yards rushing, but then LSU just really shut them down. Jarrett Stidham, 9 of 26, 165 and a touchdown, but I mean, 26.
Talk about another player who was hyped up as the saving grace of a team. Jarrett Stidham transferred in from Baylor last year, and he just doesn't look comfortable, and he's fluctuated in between looking more and less comfortable over the season. But
early in the season, really poor performances. The last couple games have been really solid, and everybody's like, oh, he's back. The last 4 games, he's thrown for 364, 218, 264, and 235. And then, so the last couple games, he's been pretty solid. He's only thrown 1 pick in those last 4 games. He didn't throw a pick against LSU either. But again, his completion rating was 60. The lowest completion rate he had in the last 4 games was 67.
Yeah.
And he ended up with 34 against LSU.
And it's the credit to the LSU defense, because so many people look at LSU and they think, oh, their offense is a tire fire. Their whole team, therefore, is a tire fire. But their defense is impressive. They have good players on their defense. Arden Key is impressive. Yeah. Devin White is impressive.
Devin White was everywhere. 15 total tackles.
That's kind of unheard of.
That's like Levante David level right there.
I don't deny it there. Can I have a Devin White on Nebraska, please?
Oh, gosh,
even though I actually don't think our linebackers are too bad, but
we'll get there.
We will get there. But for the Auburn Tigers, it's rough. They had dreams of potentially competing in the SEC West, but
their only hope is the Iron Bowl.
It's over, man.
Yeah.
Alabama's too good.
Oh yeah, I mean Bama's gonna roll everybody. But so those were the 4 big upsets. I just want to quick hit the 4 near upsets that happened. I was really mad. I picked the Georgia Tech over Miami upset. Miami pulls away a last-second field goal after an insane catch on 4th down. I don't know if you caught that.
I did see the one.
Oh my gosh, great place. I mean, they deserve it after that. But Georgia Tech, they've lost 2 close games by 1 point now. I mean, the opener to Tennessee couldn't quite get the 2-point conversion to win it, and then Miami last-second field goal. Not a bad team. They just can't finish out those games, and with such an experienced team. They had 17 returning starters from last year, Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
you gotta be able to finish that.
It's been a rough stretch for the Yellow Jackets. They're more wreck, less rambling.
What
about the Michigan-Indiana game?
Oh my gosh, that one infuriated me. I watched that one all morning, and Indiana's just hanging with them. They're hanging with them. Michigan, again, another tire fire offense, not really clicking, and Indiana keeps it close. They come back. They score 10 in the 4th quarter to tie it up. They get the kick to go to overtime. And first play of overtime, Michigan hands it off. Indiana has him stuffed in the backfield for like a 3 or 4 yard loss. And he bounces it to the outside, runs for a touchdown. And I saw that. I'm like, all right, Indiana, you blew it. But taking them to overtime again, Michigan, they got some tough games coming up. They're at Penn State this week. This could get scary for the Wolverines.
Maybe some payback.
Yeah,
for last year.
Probably.
Any other final games you want to talk about?
Just a couple quick hits. The Red River rivalry, 29-24. Oklahoma pulls it away, but Texas hanging in there again. I think Sam Ehlinger, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation by the time he's a junior senior.
He's a good player. I'm excited to see how he'll develop.
Little fun fact: he had 110 yards rushing in this game.
Ugh.
He's dual threat if I ever saw it. And then Utah. Barely losing out to USC.
Didn't watch most of the first half of this game, but saw the second half, and especially I was over at a friend's house. We were watching the 2-point conversion. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going for it.
He's got to throw it though. He's just got to throw it up and see if somebody can get it. Utah losing 28-27. USC taking the victory. Your boy Sam Darnold, 358 and 3 touchdowns. Nate.
He's back.
Oh gosh,
he's back.
Don't start this.
All right. Well, that is it for the games for last week. Stick around. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be covering the great disaster.
Yeah.
See you in a little bit.
I can't think of a better name for that.
Whether college graduation is in a few months or in a few years, gaining hands-on experience in your field of interest is a must. While a college degree is a fruitful step towards acquiring a top-tier career, today's employers are looking for college grads that already have some experience under their belt. Here at Husker HireLink, we're here to ensure that you're the person they're looking for. By simply uploading your current resume and skills, we can connect you with hundreds of employers seeking to hire college students to fill their intern, part-time, and full-time positions. Log on to HuskerHireLink.com today to get started.
I'm Demi Lovato. Living with bipolar disorder, there were so many times that I felt like I was alone. The hardest part was dealing with my bipolar depression. I finally hit rock bottom and decided to get help. Then slowly things started to change. For me, it takes speaking up, finding the right treatment plan, and getting back to what I love.
I will be rising from the ground like a skyscraper.
Visit BeVocalSpeakUp.com to use your voice to make a difference. That's BeVocalSpeakUp.com.
And we are back today with another section of this illustrious show.
Well, you're pulling out all the stops with these vocab words today, Nate.
I ate a dictionary for dinner.
You
so
ate a dictionary. Okay.
That was the worst thing I've ever said. Please ignore.
Almost as worse as your Clemson Titles when you wanted to change their name from Tigers to Titles.
Yeah, that one was worse.
Okay, Clemson Titles is worse.
Yes, that one is worse.
Glad we established that. But let's look at hopefully quickly look, but let's just look at this absolute demolition of Nebraska. Ohio State winning 56-14. Nate, you're lucky. You went home. You didn't have to worry about it. Like, yeah, you were watching on TV for a while. This was 20 yards from my face. I'm standing on the sideline watching this 20 yards from my face happen in front of me and just unfold. And every single play just gets worse and worse as this game goes on.
You think you caught something?
Oh, my gosh. That was so bad.
Got some blood on your face? Little red at the blood sacrifice. Urban Meyer plunged a sacrificial dagger into Little Red's heart. You got a little splash on you.
I got just about everything short of that in this game. Nebraska again losing 56-14. I don't even think it was that close.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. This is what I would collectively call a beating.
Oh, this is worse than a beating. A beating you can walk away from.
Was this better than last year or worse?
I think worse because last year, again, it's on the road.
We had an excuse.
We had an excuse because our quarterback got knocked unconscious and had to be taken to the hospital. And I'm sorry, you're not going to win in Columbus with Riker Fife at quarterback.
No.
Love the Grand Island gunslinger, but, I mean, he's just not going to get it done in Columbus.
Good old Gumby.
But, no. But when you let a team in at home...
Here's the
just come in and demolish you. You know you don't have one chance of winning.
Here's the stat that baffled me the most about this game is that Ohio State didn't score on a drive. The first time they didn't score on a drive was with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Another stat, just kind of piling on. the last 3 times Nebraska's played Ohio State, we have stopped them a total of 3 times, including this game, the one stop that they didn't score. We've stopped them and prevented them from scoring 3 times. Out of all their other, I don't even know how many drives. They've had so many points and so many drives, but that just shows the lack of talent and just how far behind we are, these guys. And I can't say it any more blunt than that.
So what we like to do on the show is we like to, so we don't, it isn't just incoherent rambling for 40 minutes, which, trust me, if you wanted that, we could certainly give it to you on Nebraska.
We could go more than 40.
we could hour, 2 hours, 3. I could push 4, I think. But we like to separate it into little categories where we got to do what's good, what needs, what we expected, and what needs improvement. And I thought we'd start on what's good. What about you, Alex? Anything? Is there any bright spot?
There is, and it's JD for Heisman. That's the only thing I can say. Absolute baller. Spielman gives 110% every game, every play. Finishes with a school record, 11 receptions, 200 yards. First ever 200-yard receiver for Nebraska. So, I mean,
first ever.
And a touchdown,
that's
too.
That's absurd.
Yeah, he was all over the field. He's clearly Tanner's go-to guy now. I mean, he out-received everybody on Nebraska. But let's see. Next closest
about
guy
50, he outscored everybody else combined by 50 yards.
Oh, yeah. And next closest guy with receptions was Stanley and Mikhail Wilbon with 3, and he had 11. So clearly Tanner Lee's favorite target, but clearly the electrifier and like the go-to playmaker on our offense now.
I do. I believe so. I think it's him and Divine, if we could actually craft a game plan around him for once.
Oh my gosh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
But JD shows an explosiveness that I don't think we've had at wide receiver in a long time. I don't think Kenny Bell was this explosive.
Oh, not quite. Kenny, great hands, fantastic blocker on the edge, but again, that quick step, those quick moves, so decisive with his cuts too. You're right. I don't think we've had a receiver quite like JD. Reminds me a little bit of a young DPE, but I think JD's got the step up on him.
Yeah.
I think JD's a little bit better than what DeMornay was.
Yeah, we think of all the good receivers that have been at Nebraska in the past 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Jordan Westerkamp, Kenny Bell, Niles Paul, Nate Swift.
Maurice Purify.
Yeah.
Nunwa.
I don't think any of them have ever had the explosiveness that J.D. Spielman seems to have. Like, J.D. Spielman makes his cut out of the block, and you can just see him beat the defender. And he's
incredible speed.
He's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, we get him for another 3 years after this, and I could not be happier.
I am so excited.
He's going to be a great player to watch, and again, definitely the only bright spot in this game in my eyes.
And he will be back for Purdue. It was not very serious.
Yeah, his shoulder injury should be good. And plus we got the bye week, so it looks like he'll be good to go for Purdue.
Yes. So my good is
You want to piggyback?
I'm going to say Tanner Lee. I thought he looked good.
I thought he did too.
He improved. He improved. I said Tanner Lee last week, and I'm going to say him again because his completion percentage seems like it's finally over 50%.
Again, there's drops, so he can't even give it all to him.
Our receivers.
So many drops. Apart from JD. I mean,
yeah.
He may have had a couple.
Stanley has drops. Tyler Hoppus drops it. Kel Wilbon drops it.
Can we change Tyler's name to Tyler Droppus?
You know what?
You got to let that one slide.
I'm letting that one slide, but I think he looked good. I think he made the case that he should stick with the starter for the future. That
for sure. No,
I think
Tanner Lee looked very good. I will agree with that.
We'll probably have to stick with him. I've known a lot less. I've heard a lot less, negativity towards him.
Yeah, and he's been better the last few games. Wasn't sacked in this one, so that's always a positive.
I thought he moved a little better in the pocket. I thought his awareness, his footwork looks better.
And there was one play I remember, kind of late in the game. We're driving towards the north end zone, and he's looking, he's pump faking, he's about to throw the ball, checks it down and runs it. Just takes a couple yards, slides, gets a few yards, makes a smart play, doesn't throw that ball into coverage. That's the improvement that we've been looking for out of him.
Yeah, for him in this season, we just want a steady improvement, I think, for where we are as a team. And I think that's what we did, and I thought he was a bright spot overall for the day.
All right.
How about what we expected?
Oh, I expected the screen pass to be attempted again. I don't know why. I don't know why we keep trying
It
it.
just seems like a given.
Yeah, but I expected it, and I also expected it to be completely blown up by Ohio State. And this one's kind of a shout out for my uncle, but we were both just laughing about this play with the bubble screen. It was out to Wilbon or Wilbon or Izigbo, one of the two, and Tyler Hoppus is out there blocking his guy. The safety just drives him straight back 3 yards into our running back. So as our running back catches it, he gets knocked down by Hoppus being driven back by the guy he's supposed to be blocking. It's right in front of my face again, 20 yards away, and I'm like, again, the reason this play doesn't work for Nebraska is because we do not know how to block it.
Stanley Morgan got
He got blown up on a couple too, yeah.
He's the guy who got beat. Stanley Morgan got beat for both the pick six in the NIU game and the pick six for the Wisconsin game. Like, that was his man he was supposed to block.
Yeah.
And it just seems like we don't know how to execute it, or we just don't have the pushing power.
No. And I used to say that we had some of the best edge blockers in the nation. Again, that's with Quincy Enunwa and
Kenny Bell,
Kyler Reed.
Westerkamp
Westerkamp was a great blocker. We don't have that anymore. Stanley's a big-bodied receiver, but he doesn't use his size to his advantage when blocking.
Yeah, DPE isn't super physical on the edge. Brian Reimers is a big guy, but he
was in a boot. He wasn't playing.
Oh, he wasn't?
Nope.
I guess I just didn't even.
Yeah, I was watching warm-ups. He was in a boot. And then we had a couple walk-ons. There was one. I had to go look it up on my roster because I had no idea who he was. But Tyler Chaffin, number 45.
Yep.
6'5". I'm like, I don't care who he is. I don't care why he's a walker or anything. I will take a 6'5" receiver. You could throw him out there on a couple of things. Why not?
If he can block on the edge,
somebody's got to block on the edge.
Throw Tyjon Lindsey out there. I don't care if he's
Lindsey's actually.
I don't care if he's 5'10". I want him blocking.
Yeah, I was going to give him the remark. He's been probably one of our best edge blockers so far this season.
I think he's a good blocker.
Yeah,
he's hampered by the fact that he's so short, which just physically hampers you in a lot of ways. But he's physical. He's aggressive. He pushes people. He was the guy who unlocked Stanley Morgan on his touchdown last week, and if he's the guy who's going to be able to get it done, I just put him out there.
Yeah, if you're going to run this play, which apparently Langsdorff just has to have it in his arsenal and has to try to run it at some point in the game.
He can't stop himself.
He apparently not. It's not a good play. It doesn't work for Nebraska. We clearly can't block it. We can't throw it because it's too easy to read. We don't
we don't execute it well.
No, it's a
good play. It's a good play.
It's a good play if you do it right.
Yeah, but Nebraska.
But it's an easy play to mess up.
Proven time and time again we cannot do it right.
Yep. So that's what I expected. I expected it, and it happened. And while it was funny to watch Hoppus get his butt laid out, it was very upsetting as well because your tight end should not be knocked backwards 5 yards.
No. So, for me, I expected the.
You expected the blowout.
I expected the blowout. I expected the poor effort from the defense. I don't know what to say that hasn't already been said.
Yeah, the effort, I will say, not as strong as Wisconsin's. It is also due to a lack of time possession with our offense. Again, Ohio State had 35 minutes to our 25, and much like Wisconsin, they just had the ball so long, the defense is going to wear down.
Yeah.
Coming into this, though, early on, they didn't even look like they had it. I will agree with that.
And it looked like our defense kind of just said, when we can't stop them, and they had that fear in them. And JT Barrett, who's not an amazing passer, but he's not bad.
Not a great passer. His completion percentages over the last few years have been in the low 60s. He's consistently thrown a number of interceptions and just a lot of inaccurate passes. And if you watched during the game, his completion percentage was over 80% against Nebraska. He had 27 to 33. If you go back and watch where he puts his passes, it's like where Tommy Armstrong used to put his passes, kind of away and outside, and his wide receivers had to make all the catches. The wide receivers' abilities to corral these wild balls, that's what makes JT Barrett look like a better passer.
Our rush defense looked poor again. J.K. Dobbins, not a Jonathan Taylor Gordon back there, but he,
Nothing on the
106,
defense looked
106.
good.
What did you think about the secondary moves? What did you think about DiCaprio Boodle at safety? That was a move that when it was announced, they said, "Oh, DiCaprio Boodle starting at safety," and I turned my head because I was looking away from the TV. I was playing cards with a friend at the time, and I was like, "What? Why is he starting at safety?" And I don't. He didn't look good back there at safety, and
Well, it's not his position. I mean,
I know that, and that's why I'm saying it was just there's the time where he got turned around and he just had to push the guy down in the end zone. He's like, I don't know where my man is.
That's what you're taught to do. If you're beat, knock the guy down. 15 yards is much better than a touchdown. And one thing I will give DiCaprio a little bit of credit, he'll come up and try to make the tackles, and he's made a few tackles much better than
he's
Eric
a lot more
Lee
a lot more physical than Lee or Jackson is.
But you're right. They started him at safety out of nowhere. Why have you been practicing him at corner? He plays corner? That's what I mean. I know him personally. I know he loves corner. I know that's his position. He loves talking about it, and he loves talking about how he's been doing at that spot. And he apparently just can't quite break through to start over Eric Lee or Lamar Jackson for some reason. And we had Chris Jones back for this game. Didn't make a lot of impact, but he definitely made some coverage plays. I saw they didn't throw to him too much. But you're going to tell Boodle, like, okay, you've been practicing at corner. We're going to start you at safety against one of the most prolific offenses in the nation. Cover this guy. Best of luck.
Yeah,
as a redshirt freshman.
I don't get it. I mean, I know Antonio Reed is injured, and I know Aaron Williams is also injured.
Yeah, he was injured. But, I mean, why isn't Kyron back there? Kyron played safety all last season. There's clearly some... And this kind of goes into what my bad was for the game. Overall, not just with defense, overall with Nebraska, there doesn't seem to be a clear picture of what we want to do. And again, this is what I was talking about with my uncle and discussing after the game. But the very start of the game, we started Mikhail Wilbon. He just came back from injury, but the last 3 games, Devine Azigbo has had over 100 yards rushing. And you start Mikhail Wilbon.
It killed me. It killed me when I saw Mikhail Wilbon back there. I was like, what are you doing, Langsdorff, Mike Riley?
I love Mikhail, but he's a different style back. And if every game we keep saying that we want to establish a run game, establish control of the ball, and like just get a ground game working, then you put in your top running back, which right now is Devine Azigbo. Mikhail is much more of a passing back. He's a good spell back for Devine Azigbo.
He's a good pass blocker.
No, Mikhail's not a very good pass blocker.
Is he? I thought he was better than Devine Azigbo as pass. I think he's a little better than Devine Azigbo as pass blocker.
Neither one of them are Trey Bryant. That's the point.
No, yes.
But regardless, he's not one to protect. He's more the one that you're going to throw to on those screens that you want to try.
I mean, the Wisconsin, when they try to throw the screen to Devine.
Why? Devine hasn't caught a pass all season up at that point. And again, you basically submit to Ohio State saying, we're not going to try with our best running back against you because we know we can't with our best running back against you.
They gave it to Azigbo 9 times.
Yeah.
9 times,
and
24 yards. Like, that's absurd.
No, we did not attempt to establish a run game at all. The last 3 games. So again, when Azigbo's gone over 100 yards, his carries were 24, 18, 23. And then you give him 9. Why?
I don't understand what game plan the offense is trying to go in with it. Are we trying to say we're just gonna have to sling it?
Yeah. Again, offensively, but defensively too, all across the board. You start a redshirt freshman corner at safety for the first time in his career against Ohio State, and then you tell all your other corners, Eric Lee, Lamar Jackson, play 7 yards off your receiver every single play, even in the red zone, even on 3rd and 3, play 7 yards off their receiver. And then you tell your linebackers, okay, Dedrick Young, Marcus Newby, you guys are 2 of our slowest linebackers. You're going to cover the running back when he comes out of the backfield, or you're going to cover the tight end off the line. And you tell the defensive line, don't rush JT Barrett, just contain him. And so I saw no push at all. There was no rush. They're kind of sitting there with their guys. They got their hands up to try to block some passes.
Yeah.
But JT Barrett's going over the top, so it's not going to matter.
Yeah,
there just doesn't seem to be a clear picture with our team.
I agree with you.
Apart from get the ball to JD Spielman, which would be my picture.
Yes, that would be my picture as well. It's just been a frustrating stretch, and you could feel it in the air. I was out, like I said, I was over at a friend's house to watch the game, and we were just sitting there, and we were just kind of like, and my friend doesn't watch football that much. He's not a huge football watcher, and he was just like, man, we're just not very good. I don't know what we're doing. And it's like even people who don't go in depth as much can tell.
Yeah, there just isn't any clear idea of what Nebraska wants to do. And I think that really needs to be addressed soon if we're going to salvage the season and try to make a bowl game.
Well, it was certainly a disappointing run for the Huskers, 56-14.
No, we did run. We did run. You can't say those are disappointing run. We didn't even try to run the ball.
A disappointing incomplete pass for the
thanks.
Huskers.
That's what I'm going to call this game.
An incomplete pass?
Something like that. I don't know. I don't want to reference that we tried to run the ball at all because we made no attempt.
Yep. All right, we are going to take another quick break. After this, we're going to go into our final segment where we're going to talk about the new hires for Nebraska, some games we're looking forward to next week, and just some other interesting football news, maybe a little NFL talk. See you in a little bit.
Air, fundamental to all living things, and it's all thanks to trees. Not only do trees supply oxygen, they also provide homes to wildlife, filter water, and let's not forget their natural beauty. But the trees need your help. The Nebraska Arbor Day Foundation is doing their part to revitalize forests across the country, and you can help. Donate to the Nebraska Arbor Day Foundation today by visiting www.arborday.org. Be that breath of fresh air and ensure forests live on for future generations.
Every year, millions of cats are put down because they can't find a home. The Cat House in Lincoln is doing their best to change that, but they need your help. Whether you're looking to adopt or just want to help the cause, the Cat House is the place to go. There are all sorts of ways to get involved, from donating food and other supplies to volunteering. And if you have a cat, make sure to get them spayed or neutered to help cut down on the number of cats in shelters. If you want to make a difference in an animal's life, check out the Cat House or visit their website at cathouse.org.
All right, we are back with the second string. Nate Milbach, Alex Fernando. Oh, man. We had some excellent, very exciting news happen in Nebraska this week.
Yeah, just the other day, Nebraska announced, yesterday I believe actually.
Yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday. Nebraska announced that former Washington State athletic director Bill Moose will now be moving to Lincoln, and he is Nebraska's new athletic director.
We'll be paid $1 million plus $500K in incentives. And I think it's really clear that Bill Moose has been hired to, I don't want to say clean up. That's not the right word to say, but
I think to fix up football.
To focus on football.
For sure.
To see what's the problem, whether that's going to be with Mike Riley, whether that's going to be with something else.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
We'll see kind of how it all goes. He's a Pac-12 guy, so he has some experience with Mike Riley. Does know Mike from his time at Oregon State. And then also Bill Moose, he was at Oregon during the time they kind of became back into football relevancy.
Yeah, hired Mike Bellotti, who's
didn't necessarily hire him. He got hired the same time Bellotti was promoted because the previous successor to Bellotti, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he left.
Okay.
So I wouldn't really call it a hire, just kind of kept along with the promotion because everybody liked Bellotti on staff.
Sure.
And he also kind of, his biggest hire would be Mike Leach.
Yes.
Bringing Wazoo from the depths of nowhere into relevancy.
Yeah, Mike Leach says Bill Moose is the best athletic director he's ever interacted with, which, I mean, since Leach interacted with the directors at Tech, I mean, maybe that's
he didn't have very good interactions with the ones at Tech, so that's probably why. But
Bill Moose, he oversaw the Washington State facility upgrades, which is a big get for a program like that. And Nebraska doesn't need facility upgrades.
Oh, definitely not.
But it's good to know that we have an athletic director who could get it done when the chips are down.
Yeah.
And
the biggest concern, again, I was talking with my uncle about this, and The biggest concern we saw is his age. He's 60-some, might not be around a super long time. Is he really going to be accountable for if he makes any new hires? Is he going to be around when things start going right or wrong for them?
Yeah, and it's kind of a rough spot when an AD retires and the new guy come in. We saw this with Tom Osborne,
Yep.
Deshaun Eichhorst, who came in and immediately took a dislike to Bo Pelini, and it was obvious from the way that whole thing shaked out that he probably wanted Bo gone a lot farther.
Yeah, a lot of influence from Harvey Perlman on that too. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting because we saw these same sort of arguments being made when we hired Mike Riley. We said Mike Riley, he's up there in age. We don't know if he's going to be coaching here a long time. Mm-hmm. What does this mean for Nebraska football? But I don't think it's really the way we should be looking at this. I think it should just be about how he treats our program in the next few years.
Yeah, definitely no reason to get negative about it. We got to sit back and see what happens.
And I know a lot of people who think, "Oh, who's Bill Moose? He's the guy from Washington State." Okay, name 3 athletic directors that you know of. Name
Apart
3.
from the search that you heard of, before any of this started, you could never name 3 athletic directors. I couldn't.
Yeah,
there's no way. So
I'm trying to think of who I can name. Is Pat Hayden still at USC?
I have no idea. I could name well, I can't at the moment, but I remember the Louisville one just because they have all the problems. Former Louisville one. So again, I don't think there's any reason.
I was reading on social media because they were asking about how Tim Miles would be affected by this.
Yep.
I think a lot of indications are that it'll probably be pretty positive for Tim Miles, or he'll at least get a little bit of a longer leash.
I don't think he's going to jump in and make any drastic moves right away. He wants to see what's going to go on, how things are run, and then he'll make his choices.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of people said, "Oh, this means Mike Riley's he's gone. He's gone after this." We don't know that.
No, and to those people who just demand this national championship in 3 years kind of thing, it takes time. It takes time to build a culture. Coach Osborne, he didn't win one until the 90s, and he started coaching in the 70s.
A lot of people wanted him fired after 4 years.
So many people wanted him gone. And now they're praising him. Like, it takes time to build a culture. I'm not saying I can wait that long with Mike Riley, but as a person who works with the recruiting, there's not a lot I can say, but just from experience working with the guys, talking with the guys that we bring in, we're doing the right thing, and we're bringing in the right kids for this program.
And I mean, it'll ultimately be on Moose's job, and we'll see what he does. None of us can speak for him or any of his staff that he wants to bring in himself. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this is automatically a death sentence or a positive affirmation about anything. This is just simply another man we brought in to do a job, and he'll do it in the best way that he sees fit. And as Husker fans, I think we should find a way to have faith in him until he proves otherwise.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no reason to get negative about it now. Just see what happens.
Oh, well, going back to the Tim Miles thing on social media, in inheritance to Louisville, people were thinking, man, if we needed a new coach for basketball, I know there's one from Louisville.
I don't know if that'll quite fly around here. He is available. This is true.
He's very good with Adidas.
Oh my gosh.
I think this is a good hire. I am very excited to see what Bill Moose will do. I think he brings a storied history, a storied work history. I think he brings some good accomplishments in.
Yep.
I think he'll get it done in whatever way he sees fit to do it in.
Definitely. Now looking ahead next week, Nate. Last week you didn't even want to mention any of the games.
The games were all boring, man. Trust me.
Just a terrible week of football, and then we had 4, nearly 8 upsets.
It was a really excellent week of football.
Yes, it was. So looking ahead, a couple ranked matchups. The 2 big ones: Michigan at Penn State, and then USC Notre Dame. Notre Dame, a sneaky 5-1, number 13 in the nation. You don't even hear about them really. Kind of hiding around, maybe outside that playoff picture a little bit.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I don't think they're quite good enough to make the playoffs, but
their only loss is a 1-point last-second field goal to Georgia.
I don't know. If they beat USC, that'll be an indication that they might be ready to take the step into the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to beat USC. I think the Darnold will get them done.
Oh, the Darnold.
I can't not refer to him as that every time I talk about him. But Notre Dame has a good quarterback of their own. I really like Brandon Wimbush.
He's been impressive this year. Notre Dame's actually favored 78% in this game.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it at Notre Dame?
No. Oh wait, no. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay,
Sorry.
I can see that.
That's why. Yeah. And again, they've been playing really good. Much better defense lately. They're giving up only 16.8 a game. You mentioned Wimbush, only throwing a couple picks. Not a very impressive, but just a very balanced attack with Notre Dame. 300 yards per game rushing, though, average. Like, really keeping control of that clock.
Yeah, they've outscored their last 4 opponents by a margin of, 343 to 134. So, for Notre Dame, it'll be a question of establishing the ground game. It'll be stopping USC and Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
I still like USC to get it done. I know they're very prone to laying an egg, but I believe in Sam Darnold, and I don't think I'm ever going to stop believing in Sam Darnold. I think he's an amazing quarterback.
Oh, for sure. This will be a good game, though, and I'm just saying, if Notre Dame could pull this off, their schedule does get much more difficult in the second half. They have North Carolina State next week, a trip to Miami, a trip to Stanford. So,
oh my gosh.
Playoff picture is very tough if they're going to make it, but starts right now with USC coming to town.
Yes, indeed. What do we think about Michigan versus Penn State?
Having watched Michigan the last couple weeks, their offense is too bad.
John O'Korn, not good.
Oh, not at all. Nobody on their offense can really do much of anything, and that does not bode well when you travel to Happy Valley.
No, it's the whiteout.
Oh, it's the whiteout, which I think would be incredible to witness someday in person, but Penn State at home has been phenomenal this year. They've given up 28 total points at home this year.
Oh my gosh.
And they played 4 games at home. So very tough team at home. And Michigan, very tough defense, but against Indiana just kind of hung around all game.
I feel like this game will go very much like the Indiana game, except Penn State actually has an offense that can score a lot of points. They have good players, so
I think Penn State will just be able to attack those holes and see what Indiana did and just do it a little better because they have the playmakers to take over Michigan.
Yeah, I think it'll be a beatdown. They're out for revenge.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. You never know with Harbaugh, though.
Any other final games to talk about? You want to get a word in?
Colorado on the road at Wazoo, looking to bounce back.
It'll be a
LSU
tough
back
game.
in the rankings now, 24. Okay, sure. Let's see.
How about
Oklahoma at K-State?
K-State's not very good.
No, but Bill Schneider, you never know.
It's not good. They're not good. They're not going to win this game.
Scott Frost at Navy, taking UCF undefeated up to Annapolis.
I wouldn't be surprised if UCF lost this game.
That's a tough one.
The G5, it's hard to predict, and I'm not in tune to UCF as a team. I basically know their coach, and that's it. But Ken Naptumbo, he's usually got his team ducks in a row, and Navy's a good team. They lost last weekend. Or 2 weekends ago, I mean,
but very
upset.
Yeah.
But they've won every other week, and it'll be a tough out for the Fighting Frosts.
Oh, for sure, Fighting Frosts. Last one, quick mention just for you, Nate. Your Oklahoma State Pokes on the road at Texas.
That'll be tough.
That does not sound like a good game. That just like a good victory for Oklahoma State. That sounds like a big potential for an upset.
Don't even tempt me with this. They're gonna win. I have faith in them.
I don't know.
Mason Rudolph, James Washington, Justice Hill. They got enough skill players in Texas defense.
Last time they faced a dual threat quarterback, it didn't really go their way.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see what Sam Ellinger can pull out.
All right, guys. I think that will be it for us on the second string. We had a really good day tonight. I really enjoyed our conversations.
Good day tonight. So yeah, good.
I make no sense. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I got a paper to write a bibliography for. I for a second string guy, it's pretty good.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in on KRNU2. You listen to the Second String. I'm Alex Fernando for Nate Milbach. Go Big Red, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.